Why, hello there, Celtics fans. New intro. No, I'm only messing about. Welcome back to Vitamin C's. Vitamin C's, if you're based in the States, your daily dose of Celtics content. Are you ready for your vitamins? Tim, are you ready for your vitamins?
About as ready as I can be. Got my
We need a
coffee
better
going.
catch line. That's what we need. We need a better strap line because are you ready for your vitamins? It's just not
Yeah,
something you
we gotta
normally
we gotta
say.
work on that hook. We gotta work on
Yeah,
it. We'll figure it
real
out.
bad. Real bad. It's just not working out well. Anyway, today's discussion topic, Mr. Robert Williams. There's a piece that's came out on NBC Sports Boston around about an hour before we started recording, which is around about 1 p.m. UK time, which will take us to around about 8 a.m. Boston time. So go check that out. Chris Forsberg was the one that pushed that out on his social channels. And it's just kind of a discussion about Robert Williams, his contract extension, and the faith the Celtics have put in him and what that's done for him from a mental aspect and a confidence aspect. Tim, how you feeling, man? First of all, what was your original? I mean, this is old news now, but we can rehash it a quick bit to lead us into new news. New news. See what I did there? We can. So, what was your original thoughts on Robert Williams signing that contract extension?
I think it's good. And they talk about it a little bit lately, but talking about a show of confidence, a show of faith. And it's also good for Robert Williams because you don't have to worry about your health as much in terms of, man, if I really get banged up, what's going to happen to me long term? Like, am I going to be out of the NBA if I take the one wrong step? Like, am I not going to be financially secure? And like, that's a big issue for a lot of guys, but specifically Rob because of his health issues. But I think this is also a show of faith of saying, hey, we believe in your potential. And I think this also is good for Boston because it's securing a long-term deal for one of your best young players outside of the Jays. He's probably your third best player in terms of ceiling. But again, I think this is also just a matter of securing a long-term asset as well as just covering yourself in terms of potentially losing a guy like this down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't. There's not really much more I want to add on to that. I think you're right. I think for the Celtics, it's you're not losing somebody with such a high ceiling so soon. Maybe his body can still get right. For Rob, it's more along the lines of, hey, I've got a few more years to figure this stuff out. This team's going to put their faith in me, and that's where we're going to look at now. Before we get into that, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, that thumbs up button, share it with your friends, your family, your aunties, your uncles, your Uber drivers. Anybody, if you're on a yacht, then share it with the people on the yacht. I want to know how you afforded the yacht, but we can talk about that later. But as we go back to Robert Williams now, because I digress, one of the quotes that came out that I really liked, and I'm just going to pull this up, was I went through 3 days of shock. I feel like I'm still in shock. Just a sense of they trust me. When people put their trust in you, you got to take it seriously. So I'm locked in. Well, Robert Williams, when he's locked in, is one of the best. Well, sorry, one of the most impactful big men in the league. You've seen it multiple times. Robert come off the bench, the team are in a hole. His energy, his rim protection, his rim deterrence, which I like to kind of separate from rim protection. Rim protection is you're protecting the rim. Rim deterrence is where people won't even attempt to score at the rim because you're there or you're in the vicinity of the area. So those two things, along with his vertical spacing and his dunking ability, just knowing that if he's in the dunker spot, you have to have a man on him so they can box out. That's ridiculously good impact off a bench guy. If he's saying he's fully locked in and fully committed to taking next steps in his career, and he's very much like, hey, yo, I've done a few years as a rookie. I did enough to obtain this extension. So now I'm fully locked in. Now I'm going to be the best version of me I can be. Well, that's actually a scary prospect for a lot of people that are going to come up against Rob, just because, if he develops his passing ability, if he develops a pull up off the short roll, then where do you start to guard him? So this I'm locked in, that one bit there is what gives me a lot of optimism moving forwards, not only for this season, but for the duration of that extension.
Yeah, and I think there's still plenty of room for him to grow. I mean, he talked about how the 76ers added Andre Drummond. So he's like, I got to add some more muscle. Like, I need to add some more weight to my frame. And maybe if he does that, like maybe his game changes a little bit. Maybe he's a little bit more physical. He still has that athleticism upside. But again, if he develops that jumper a little bit more, we saw him get into that a little bit last season. But if he becomes like a genuine like mid-range like shooter and he's able to do that, you're going to open up a lot more with your offense. You're going to open up some more lanes. And again, his presence overall, being the kind of physical presence that he is, both offensively and defensively, he forces teams to react. Like, you're not going to leave him open because of fear of him just cutting to the rim and getting up for a oop. How many times do we have these highlight plays from last year where you all of a sudden he's just like, his hand is like 5 feet above the rim and he's just slamming it down. Like, it's insane how I can't think of another player that I've witnessed that has been this athletically impressive for the Celtics in a very, very long time.
I mean, for the Celtics, no. He does give me some like prime Vince Carter dump package vibes sometimes. Like, that's kind of the vibe I get. His vertical spacing, because of that leaping ability, is ridiculous. I also think that a lot of people don't give him enough credit for how willing of a screener he is. I think that you saw the Celtics last year run a bunch of veer, which is where you get whoever sets the initial screen then goes and screens for an off-ball screen for somebody to come off of. So it's like a screen into a pin down or a screen into a screen. That's what you'd call veer. And if you watch Robert Williams, he runs a bunch of those types of sets because he's not just all about scoring. I remember the one quote he had last year where it's like, one of my biggest roles is to free up my teammates, to get my teammates scoring opportunities. And I understand that being a big man, screening is a large part of your role, of your job description, but being good at it and doing it are two completely different things. And I think because teams are so used to kind of pushing up on Rob Williams to slow him down, they'll throw a tagger at him if he's rolling and stuff. When he screens, if he turns his hips, he can like theoretically lock two guys behind him, and that's why you see him have such a good open roll to the hoop so often. And then defenses have to be dragged over on help, and then there's open swing passes on the wing because of it. So when you're developing Rob Williams and you're adding in a jump shot or you're adding in some additional passing ability from X, Y, and Z as the season goes on, as the years go on, then that screening ability just becomes another wrinkle into what makes him such an impactful and nightmarish big to deal with. And again, that locked in, that word there, that first of all, I question, were you not locked in for the last few years? Like, I need to know, inquiring minds want to know. But if you were, and you're continuing to be locked in, then great. If you weren't and you are now, then what the hell is to come next? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it would kind of be insane if he wasn't locked in before. I mean, there were concerns about motivation and focus and drive when he was in the draft, beyond just any kind of health concerns or lingering concerns with his hips. I know that was an issue. He had some kind of disorder with blood flow, I think, in his hips. It's common in a lot of big men in the NBA, apparently. But when coming in, like, there were concerns about, okay, is he going to be driven enough at the NBA level? Does he have that focus and drive? And so the fact is, if that's still an issue, I would be concerned, but I don't think it is, based on the kind of leap that he took last season. And I think back to even back to the bubble in the Raptors series, he had a couple games where he was starting to show those flashes of potential. And last year, I think, was like a big coming out for him. So it'll be interesting to see him turn that corner this year. And even still, like, I think the Celtics use a lot of screens for their bigs, at least with Brad Stevens. And now with Udoka, I don't really know what to expect offensively, but it's worth saying yesterday that Ime Udoka, this is from Keith Smith, said that the Celtics want to build up Robert Williams' role and his minutes, but that is, quote unquote, a matter of health. So that's what we expected. And Udoka said the team is giving him a contract extension, and that is a sign of confidence in him. So I think if the coach is coming in saying this, never having coached this player, you've got Al Horford, who has been a mentor for him, returning to Boston, and Al and Rob speak very highly of each other. And even Grant Williams said that Rob Williams is one of the best bigs in the league. So, like, to have your teammates and your new coach and your now president of basketball operations being, okay, we're giving you a contract. We believe in you. We believe in the potential that you have. That has to be massive for a player like Rob. Like, that is beyond huge. And I think that this is a situation where players are a product of their environment. And if you give a guy like that your trust and your faith, and you put that time in to develop him right, you've got a franchise cornerstone player right there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I won't call him a franchise cornerstone. I think that's a little bit
fair.
too.
I'm very high on it.
Yeah, no, me too, man. I'm being serious, but I just think in the modern NBA, like, if you want to be a franchise cornerstone at the 5, then you need a 3-point shot. You need to be more of a playmaker than what we've seen Rob be. I mean, I think Rob has some of the best potential out of the bigs in the league to become one of the like top 5 passing bigs. I think the potential's there for that. I think there's a potential to become a good mid-range pull-up shooter. I'm not sure whether we'll ever see him become a consistent 3-point shooter. I think he would have needed to have took strides already to this point with that mid-range shot for me to have more confidence. But hey, Brook Lopez didn't do it till late in his career. Now look at him; he's one of the best 3-point shooting bigs in the league. So there's still plenty of time. I could be completely wrong here, but I just don't see him as a franchise cornerstone. I do see him as one of the team's elite level role players, and that means he's going to be probably their starting 5. If you look at the league at the moment, beyond like your Jokic, your Davis, and whoever else you want to throw in at the 5 there, that could your Embiids. I knew I was missing one that was prevalent. Outside of those guys, any high level 5 is generally just an elite role player. You have your superstar bigs, then you have your elite roles, and then you have the rest of the pack that are just interchangeable parts. So I see Rob being more than an interchangeable part, but I don't see him reaching the level of the guys on that first tier of big men, just because the talent level is so vast, the gap is so vast that I just don't think that's surmountable for him due to the injury issues he's had. And we just don't know where his body's going to be in 1, 2, 3 years' time. And then you throw in the fact that, Embiid's had injury issues all the way through his career, but he's so dominant physically and so multi-skilled that he sits atop of those bigs or with those bigs at the top. Robert Williams has had similar issues, but hasn't fashioned himself there because he's just not at that level of talent. He's on that next tier below, and that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can have an excellent career. I just want to kind of push back on that franchise cornerstone just a little bit.
That's fair. I got to pump the brakes a little bit, but I think when it comes to Rob, we just kind of have to wait and see. I think if he takes those kind of steps this year, even if it's just small improvements, that's all it has to be. I think taking care of his health, making sure that he's healthy, if he can bump his minutes up a little bit, great, but not at the cost of more games. If that's the sort of thing that you have to worry about, he had that turf toe last year, and that's significantly painful. Like, if you don't know what turf toe is, I recommend that you look it up because it's very, very painful. Like,
it's where you put turf on your toe, right? It's where you get turf on your toe.
It happens common in American football, or as you'd like to call it, hand egg.
Hand
egg. Where basically like the muscles in your feet start to pull away. It's bad. I won't go any further detail. Not for the squeamish. But
while you're searching that, search blue waffle. You're welcome.
No, don't do it. It's a bad idea.
You're welcome.
With Rob, I think if he can just overcome those injuries and just do it building block wise, okay, get a little bit more consistent with your minutes, get a little bit more consistent with your health, work on that mid range, add that a little bit more, maybe work more as a playmaker or facilitator at the big man spot. He's an excellent passer already. So I think these small incremental improvements, and I think they'll add layers to his game that he doesn't have yet. And I think a reason why he might not have some of these layers to his game is because he hasn't played many games. He's had these health issues when he came into the league. Like, that's kind of gotten in the way. And that is really why the health problems are a genuine issue long-term for him, because it hinders that development. It's not that you don't trust the guy when he's out in the court. It's just, it's stopping him from taking those necessary steps in his game to truly like bring his game to a new level.
While we're talking Rob Williams, yes, I want to ask a question.
Okay.
Can we please touch on the 2 big lineup of Rob Williams and Al Horford and how it's going to be absolutely beautiful?
Here's the thing. I think it'll be awesome. I just think a lot of people are gonna, like, as soon as they hear that there's a double big lineup, they're gonna be like
yo, you run
this mistrust.
you run Al Horford and Rob Williams on a horn set, and you ask Al to pop and Rob to roll, and you tell me what the defense is going to do when if you've run a horn set with Marcus Smart as your ball handler, Jalen, Jason, Rob, and Al are all off ball. You run your 2 guys who are setting the horn, so that's going to be Al and it's going to be Rob. Al pops, Rob rolls. Then you've got to worry about a kick out to Tatum. So you've got to worry what Marcus Smart's going to do with the ball at that point. You've 4 options. All 4 of them are nightmares on defense because he can kick to Tatum, he can kick to Brown, he can throw the lob to Rob. See what I did there? I love doing that. Or he can just dish it off to Al Horford in like some dribble handoff actions and let Hal pull up from 3. It's going to be borderline unguardable. I get it. Defensively, there's going to be questions, but is there really? This isn't Daniel Tyson, Tristan Thompson. This is Al Horford and Robert Williams. And the style of their games are going to mesh so well because Al is reliable from deep, from 3, especially in like that wing slot region of the court. And Rob is just an absolute nightmare when rolling to the rim. I just want 2 possessions a week. So that's like 1 every other game where they run a horn set with Al and Rob. That's all I want. It's all I'm asking for all year. That I just want to see that out of them 2. I'm going to be asking for a bunch more than just that. But just for these 2 guys, that's what I want to see.
I think it'll be interesting to see how it gets utilized. Udoka might run a different system, but again, I think the Celtics have built themselves for versatility, and that's probably, just looking at it from like a sheer positional talent standpoint, that is probably their best lineup in terms of defense, of playmaking ability, of 3-point shooting. Like that's probably the best that they have. And I mean, like if their smallest player on the court is Marcus Smart, like that's going to be a problem. So I think that'll be like a size matchup sort of thing. Like maybe that's something that they try and use against a team like the Bucks, who definitely go big when they run Giannis and Lopez on the court at the same time. Like trying to match size that can pass, that has that pick and pop ability with Al Horford, that has that athleticism and ability to be a lob threat or, cutting to the hoop on a pick and roll with Rob Williams. Like that's very, very hard to defend. So I will be interested to see how that changes. I think overall, I think it goes with that question, like you said, like it's going to be a different dynamic than what it was with Tristan Thompson and Daniel Tice. Like I think they're both limited in a lot of ways, but I think this is probably the best duo that they have at the 4 and 5 without going a little bit smaller or running Tatum at the 4 and then slipping either Horford or Robin at the 5.
Tatum has his best games at the 4 anyway. Tatum's going to be the starting 4 no matter what.
Which is the problem a little bit when it comes to the double bigs. But again, if the double bigs is not your starting lineup and you just want to throw it in there to kind of throw
I'm not asking for you to start games with it, dude. I'm just
good,
saying,
okay,
no, come on, man. You should know me better than that. Like my starting 5 is realistically Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown. I wouldn't mind it. I think it's going to be Richardson, but I really wouldn't mind just moving Brown to the 3 and having Neesmith at the 2, or keep Brown at the 2, move Neesmith to the 3, however you want to do it. Then Jason and then Rob. But ideally, Jason and then Al, because you want that impact off Rob off the bench, especially while you're ramping him back up. But if you can get that double big lineup in there for a few minutes a game, just give me that horn set, dude. And then you can pull him out. You can run some, I don't know, you can start using Rob as a flex screener if you need to. I really don't care. I just want that 1 possession every other game so I can just see the beautiful orchestration. That's all I'm asking for, man. Overall, I think Rob's comments were great. I'm really happy that he's locked in. Why weren't you locked in before? And if you were, why did you have to say you're locked in now? We should have known. But jokes aside, I'm super happy that he's feeling confident. He's feeling the love from the front office. I'm sure he feels the love from the fans. I see some awesome art for him. We will be back tomorrow, Mr. Shields. We will be back again for your next dose of daily Celtics content. Your next dose. I have no idea what it's going to be about, Hopefully some news comes out of training camp that gives us something to talk about. If not, then we're going to just wing it. You can find me on any social media channel in the world at Adam Taylor NBA. You can find Tim on the Twitter at Tim Shields NBA. And Tim, what do they need to do when we finish watching this show?
Like, share, subscribe, review. Give us all your thoughts. Let us know how we can be better, or even better, just tell us that we're doing a good job.
The good job part's probably my favorite part, right?
Makes me feel all warm and fuzzy.
Awesome. Guys and girls, we will catch you again tomorrow, which will be on a Thursday. And we will see you then. Peace out.
Cheers.